Welcome to Next Chapter Chats. We are the show that's rewriting the script on what life is like after 55. Today's conversation is about something many of us don't talk about until we have to. How to thrive in our homes. We're going to be talking about stairs and mobility and finances and community and the question, can I stay in my home or do I need to rethink about where and how I live? And before you picture old age or end of independence, stop right there. This isn't about giving up. It's about staying in control, future-proofing your home, and protecting that independence.
And I'm Penelope. Welcome. Joining us today is Allison Meriano, Sales Director with Home Stairlift Canada. Allison will bust myths, share practical insights, and explain why stairlifts are as much about living fully as they are about mobility. And Kimberly Phinney, Sales Representative and Chief Operating Officer of Royal LePage Real Estate Services, Phinney Real Estate. That's quite a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Kimberly runs a full-service real estate team with her brother Michael in the GTA. They've concentrated on ensuring their sales teams are equipped to help through all life stages. Thank you for that. With offices in Toronto, Mississauga, and Oakville. They are one of Royal LePage's leading teams. Today, Kimberly will share trends and options from right-sizing to renovations to home equity. Plus, what she's learned supporting her clients and our community through big life transition. Welcome, ladies. What a great conversation this is going to be.
This is going to be fantastic.
Thank you.
But I think we need to start with the elephant in the room. I know. I saw somebody wearing a T-shirt yesterday that I thought was amazing because it said, "Isn't it funny how all the old people are the same age as you?"
Yes.
It's big. I'm going to say that so many of our listeners and myself, vibrant, independent, successful women, don't see themselves as old. How do you reframe stair lifts so they're not a symbol of decay into a symbol of independence and foresight?
Amazing. So stair lifts provide freedom and independence, okay? And we see a lot of people suffering or moving their bedrooms to the main floor to avoid stairs.
Oh.
But really, let's get that stair lift in there so you can access your bedroom, access the shower. Some quick stats, 85% of seniors admitted into the hospital are due to falls, and 50% of those falls are caused in the home. So, and one more small point I wanted to make is that a stair lift isn't just about getting up and down the stairs. It's about holding on to the life and the home that you love, right?
Yeah.
Keeping those memories going with your grandkids, your family, hosting dinners.
It's something.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, if you've lived in your home for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that's the memories alone. That's
Right.
a hard place to leave.
We hear that every day. They don't want to leave. They don't want to pack up things and throw things out, right?
I can certainly understand that. I think you said something to me which it was just an aha game-changing moment for me. My husband and I actually did downsize our home. We had 4 levels of stairs.
Wow.
And my knees, I can't do them anymore. So without thought to what was possible, it was just like, this is no longer for us. We have to move.
Right.
I mean, leaving the neighborhood was not easy. Reestablishing ourselves someplace else is not easy either. But when you said to me that stair lifts can be put in and taken out for something like rehabbing from knee surgery.
Right. We even have, and it's for all ages. We have children, and we even have 40-year-olds who slip on the ice and they're waiting or recovering from surgery. So if you need a short-term rental, we've got you. If you've got curved stairs or straight, you can rent a stair lift. You can buy pre-owned if there's budget restraints.
You can rent?
You can rent.
Is there a minimum period of time?
About a month, we say, right?
That's nothing.
That's nothing, yeah.
So
we have a trial also. If you want to try, we'll give you a week, right? Because some people are
just not sure.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that is amazing.
That's remarkable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it also would help too with taking stuff up and down the stairs too.
It can.
So
Yes.
like, maybe you have
Lunch.
to bring, or maybe you need to bring your laundry downstairs to a main
Oh my
floor. You
gosh.
could have the laundry basket and and take that down, right? So there's
So
different
bulky
aspects,
items
right?
allows
Different
for movement.
Some people live in their adult children's basement, right?
Yeah.
And need a stair lift to go down to the basement, the cantina. Some people have senior dogs.
Now that's an Italian moment.
Of course. Did I say cantina? Cold room.
And parents living in the home with you.
Right. That's true.
Well, this is really good. We need to take a short break. You're listening to Next Chapter Chats. Stay tuned for more on future-proofing your home.
If you have been contemplating a move, contact Kimberly Phinney, spelled Phinney, at Royal LePage Real Estate Services, Phinney Real Estate, at 905-466-8888, or our website at phinneyrealestate.com. Whatever stage in your move plans, we are happy to come up with a strategy to assist you. With offices in Toronto, Mississauga, and Oakville, our team is here to assist you.
Welcome back. You're listening to Next Chapter Chats with Pat, Penelope, Allison, and Kimberly. Allison, let's break it down. Where do stairlifts fit into our lives? Who uses them? When? Why? And how much?
So anyone experiencing limited mobility can use a stair lift. Like I said, we have children who might have been born with something that, has left them with limited mobility. Sometimes injuries come throughout life. We have people who are long-term aging in place, like I said, waiting or recovering from surgery, any age. You can rent a stair lift for as little as your coffee a day. So they're more affordable than you think. We do both
Is that
indoor.
Starbucks
I was
coffee?
just
That's
going
a
to
Starbucks, yes. But it's
So
a Starbucks
is it
without
7
a
or
snack.
2?
Yeah. It is affordable. And we're the only company that'll do curved rentals. So we have the options to do straight and curved. And indoor and outdoor access. So
Outdoor.
That's right.
That's
and
huge.
Made for Canadian winters. So you can rely on it. Some people need it to go in through the garage too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we've got you.
I have a quick question. This might seem ridiculous. What if you just have a few stairs? I'm thinking of my mom-in-law, may she rest. There were 5 stairs outside into her bungalow, but she couldn't maneuver them. Is that too short? Or
No, we can do it all. We've seen it all.
Wow.
We've done it all. Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
So no minimums. You can rent.
Mm-hmm.
You can purchase. You can get pre-owned.
Yeah, we even have a buyback policy. So if you do decide to move or you're selling the house, whatever the case may be, we will buy it back for a percentage of what you paid for it. We'll come dismantle it. If you have hardwood floors, we'll fill the holes, make your place look good as new.
See, that was one of my concerns.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a really
That's
good.
a big one.
And we have the real estate expert here with us.
Yes, yes.
Have you had situations where this was either a deterrent or a benefit?
So we do have houses that have stair lifts, and often we recommend taking them out because are you going to find this?
For listing, yes.
Right, for listing, we would say take them out because what's the likelihood you're going to find somebody with the exact same needs as the previous owner, right? So we just try to make it more adaptable for everyone, right?
I was talking to somebody the other day saying, when you sell your house, you are selling to your old original self. So
That's
if you've lived in that
That's a good
house
point.
for 40 years, you're talking about somebody who is 40 years younger than you.
That's right.
You're not selling to yourself.
Right.
You're not even selling to your contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
At best, you're selling to your children, but probably selling to your grandchildren.
Great advice.
Right. So that makes a lot of sense if somebody can come and take it out,
Mm-hmm.
fill in the holes. Like that's one of the concerns that we have with some of the homeowners is, well, if we take it out, how do we make it look
Exactly.
back to where it was? So
So
that
you can
solves
turn
that
to original
problem.
state?
Pretty much. We're not floor professionals, but we
Okay.
will, match the wood grain color and fill it so it will look,
As close to it as you
Yes,
can.
yeah.
Fantastic.
And as I understand it, I'm crinking my eye here, we are talking about just adhering to the step board
the
on the stairs.
Nothing goes into the walls. It's every 3 or 4 steps. So it's not even every step, right?
Mhm.
That's how it's installed. Yes.
Very cool.
Yep. And a straight stair lift can be installed within about an hour. you
Wow.
know?
No.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
The only other thing that I've heard about are safety concerns. So do these things break down? How are they maintained?
Okay, so our stair lifts come with a 5-year warranty, and really you're covered for 5 years. So if there is any issues, you can give us a call. They are plugged into the wall, but there's also a battery backup inside the bottom of the chair. So if the power goes out, you're covered. The battery kicks in. You're not going to
Brilliant.
get stuck on the stairs.
What about weight restrictions?
Yes, so there is. They're about 275 to 350, but we
Okay.
do have options. We call them HD, heavy duty units. So if you are
Perfect.
above a certain weight, we have different equipment. Yeah,
My
that can
goodness.
accommodate.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why we're having this conversation.
Exactly.
Because we don't know. So purchase versus rental. Why would you do one versus another?
We always say rental is for short-term use. So if you're waiting for surgery, recovering from surgery, or perhaps your parents are visiting from overseas for the summer or Christmas, holidays, rent, right? It just makes more sense because if you're going to rent long-term, you might as well have purchased, right? Because it just works out to be more money, right?
Okay, so
Yep.
renting is at the end if you're going to do this over a 5-year or 10-year
Right.
period.
It makes sense
it makes
to
sense
purchase. And just to give you an idea of what a straight costs, you can own a straight stair lift for less than you think. It's $23.95, no
Really?
tax
That's reasonable.
because it's
But the
a medical
decimals
device.
after the 5, right?
That's right. Yes. $23.95 for a
So
straight.
less than $3,000.
That's
less
right.
than $2,500.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's a very good price.
That's outstanding.
modify.
A curve
so
is
you
a
can
little bit different.
Yeah.
I mean, a curve is
Yeah.
custom. We have to come in, measure, and it's manufactured specifically for your stairs.
Mhm.
So then we're talking thousands of dollars, but still, I always say it's cheaper than moving, right? And if it,
Much.
right, yeah, or then if it avoids a fall, right, it's worth it.
So you want to keep people in your home and you want to sell their homes.
That's
This
right.
is- This is interesting. So Kimberly, can you chime in on this? You mentioned that you've seen homes that have had stair lifts and
Yes.
suggested removing them. So at what stage you two need to work together?
Yes.
This is brilliant. So what are you seeing? I mean, demographically, our boomers are the single largest population
That's right.
and growing.
That's right.
And so projections for 2040, 2050 are staggering. So what trends are you noticing?
So we do, there is a large population that do want to age in place. And
I think
often they'll
most.
call us, and they're usually a couple, and they're trying to decide the future, what they're going to do. But if they're not ready to leave the home, this is an excellent option
Yeah.
for them. And, as a realtor, I think you have a sort of an obligation to sort of try and work with what people want to do.
Yes.
So we usually have a conversation with them to try and determine why they're thinking of moving, whether this is the right time, because maybe it's 2 years down the road, or maybe, and I do have clients in that situation now where we've met them a year ago, but one of them, and it's usually for some reason the husband wants to stay. He says, "You're taking me out in a pine box," right? Like that's always the conversation.
Women are just more adventurous, let's
Yes.
face it.
Yes.
Okay,
And,
ladies. So next chapter chats will be back right after with more insights on independence at home. Just stay tuned.
Conquer the stairs. Elevate your life with a stairlift. Home Stairlift wants you to be safe in the home you love. We offer new or pre-owned stairlifts, buy or rent options, a 5-year warranty, and we'll even buy it back. Call or visit us today at homestairlift.com.
Welcome back to Next Chapter Chats. We're here with Pat, Penelope, Kimberly, and Allison. Kimberly, we're chatting about to stay or not to stay. Should
That's
I
right.
stay or should I go?
Yes. So, and then we were just speaking about some of the practical aspects. Usually, sometimes it's a couple that are living in the home, and then one would like to go, one might like to stay. So that's the initial conversation, and just trying to understand where they are in the process, and when would be a good time for them. So not always is it like right now the time to move. So we usually have that first conversation and try and realize what it is that's causing them to think about making a move.
And so to that point, when I think about it, and this generation particularly, couples don't age at the same rate.
That's right.
And that's something that I'm not sure everyone recognizes. One is going to...
And that actually is true of not just couples who have age disparities.
Yes.
People of the same age
Yes.
do not age the same way.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well, and it becomes sometimes physical because your body, sometimes you'll have knee issues or hip issues. One of the family members will find it more difficult physically to either live in the house, do the stairs, or to upkeep the house. And that becomes a bit of an issue as well. So physical becomes one of the conversations. So the chairlift is a great way of mitigating that and allowing them to live longer in the home, as long as they're able to do the other functions, cooking and, upkeep, cleaning, hiring maybe people to take care of the lawns and the snow removal. But if that becomes difficult, then we talk about, options of leaving the home.
But you know what I like about that? Because even just having a couple of years, if you think about it, if you've been in a home for 30, 40, 50 years, which I never have, by the way, but I could imagine if you have, I know what it's like being in a home for 10 years and downsizing. But so 2 years is probably about the right amount of time to start thinking about it and to start searching for what do we want, what's going to meet our needs, our budget.
Oh, I'm going to tell you
mobility.
That is not known until you actually know where you're going to.
But you're going to have to start having those conversations and at least downsizing.
Exactly. And so a lot of times too, it's for the family that's lived in the home for a long time, it's them trying to visualize what it's going to be like moving. So whether it's into a condo, sometimes that's the first step. Another one would be into a retirement home. So oftentimes I say, before you make your decision, let's just go out and look and see if there's something that sort of fits your needs.
Okay.
Because once they're able to visualize moving, it becomes much easier. If you've lived in a house for a long time, it's hard. Change is hard. And so I find that first step makes a big difference on whether people want to move or want to stay.
What I have noticed about Phinney Real Estate and Royal LePage in particular is that you really do care about your clients. I've seen you in action. I've seen you wait 5, 6, 7 years. Not wait, but nurture clients along the way. Stay with them. Stay in touch. And that's really a testament. That's one of the things that I think sets you apart. Do you want to talk to that point? Because particularly for this demographic, it's a big decision. It's a scary decision. It's tough. It's complex.
Yes.
But there has to be trust with the person that's guiding you.
That's right. I never think that doing the right thing is the right thing to do. Like, I always think that doing the right thing is what you should be doing. So we've had some of our agents as well last year went to see a couple, and it became very apparent that, yes, the house was becoming difficult to manage, but they came back. They weren't ready, so they came back and got them the resources to stay. And, sometimes somebody just needs that help. I know that when time comes to sell that house, they will go back to that agent, and because they've been given the right information and help them to solve an issue that they had at that time. I think that's really important. I remember my mom years ago, same thing. She met somebody after the death of a husband, and she said, should I sell? And she said, can you keep your home? And she said, yes, she could. And she kept it for probably another 20 years. And they listed with us when it was time to sell.
When it was time.
Fantastic.
And because she said she was the one agent that didn't say, yes, sell it right now. And she made so much money in that 20 years because it was a large lot. She made so much money, it was worthwhile for her to stay. So I think it's really just trying to
very individual.
Yeah, and trying to help people to make good decisions that affect their life. So that's important to us.
Left field question here. What are the most overlooked aspects when it comes to making this kind of decision? What are people not thinking about that they should?
Well, I think lifestyle considerations. I think, you want to make sure that what you're doing is going to enhance your life.
Mhm.
And I think those are important. I think people, need to consider the financial costs of doing it. And also, like, if you were to decide not to sell, the financial aspects of that as well. So we try to talk to both of those
Mhm.
because you stay in a house for a long time and perhaps you pass, then you have to look at estate. And is that what you want it to do? Did you want to pay estate tax, or would you rather sell in advance, use some of that money, or maybe do some wealth transfer to your
Mhm.
kids or your grandkids? So there's lots of aspects to making that decision.
Thanks. Okay. So the next one I've got, we're going to talk about roadblocks. What are the biggest mistakes people make when they downsize or modify their homes? So they've decided they're going to, I guess that's actually two questions.
Yes.
One side is I don't want to move.
Yes.
I'm going to stay in my place.
Yes.
Now we have to start modification, and I guess how modification may or may not impact the value of the house.
Sure. So sometimes you have people that can no longer do the stairs. If they don't do the stair lift, sometimes you see them modifying the main floor to put a bedroom on the main floor. But it may take away space that would be, like, for instance, maybe they make the family room into a bedroom. And so they have living room, dining room, kitchen, and then they have a main floor bedroom from that family room. Well, if they went to sell, what's going to be the demographics coming in? And is that going to be the practical use? So all the money that they've done to modify that main floor may actually be lost because somebody might come in and have to rip down what they just did. So it's not enhancing the value of the house. So you have to kind of think of practical, when you're doing that. It's not to say that's not the right thing for them. If they want to do that and they have the finances and they want to stay there, they can. But, if they're looking at it too from when I go to sell again, will this make a difference? In a lot of cases it can, right?
So it actually has a negative impact. I saw that in my old neighborhood. I'm not going to blame you for this one, Allison. Somebody had put in a stair lift because they had their aged parent living with them. The stair lift, I have no idea who was the supplier of it, but it was very dominant in a narrow stairs.
Oh, and the
set of
older homes
stairs.
have narrow staircases, so that's...
And I know that the real estate agent couldn't sell the house. It actually went through the whole listing process. They couldn't sell it. Another real estate agent came in with the Royal LePage. Not your company, but another one. And the first thing she did is said, we have to take the stair lift out.
Yeah, I always do.
And fixed it up and literally sold the house within a week.
Yeah.
So that raises another question, because you just mentioned the narrow staircases, which many of the older homes have. Do stairlifts, can they be adapted for narrow staircases?
Yes, we install in a lot of older homes in Toronto, Hamilton. So it can be done. Yes.
Okay.
It just needs to make sure that it's one that folds up into the wall. So you can
Or we
still
can
get by.
angle the chair a little bit too. I mean, if it's way too narrow, if we're talking about some crazy castle staircases, no. But there is a way to configure the chair to make things work.
Because I know my girlfriend lives down in Riverdale in one of the old, they would have been workman cottages when those places were built. Now, very desirable neighborhood in Toronto, but we're talking narrow.
Yeah.
It wouldn't meet today's standards.
Right.
They're very tiny.
I just thought of something. Silly question, but I do love animals. So what if you have an aging pet?
Oh, we've seen that too in the showroom.
Okay.
Yeah, senior dogs, right? Because dogs have become people's children,
Yes.
really. So yes, we've had inquiries for, and usually if you have a senior dog, you're probably a senior yourself. So you can both ride the lift together, right? I will say one thing too about how we were talking about who the stairlift is for and then thinking about moving. I will mention that sometimes the stairlift goes in the home to prevent hazards for the wife or the husband or the caregiver. Whoever we were talking about aging, one person might age faster than the other. So we had a testimonial recently with a customer who the husband had fallen 3 times in the house.
Oh my gosh.
Big football guy. And he was, I am not getting a stair lift. But the wife would have to call the fire department every time he fell because he was so huge and she's 130 pounds. So she was putting, not only is he at risk, but she was at risk, right? Trying to pick him up off the stairs or in the washroom, wherever he fell. And she finally gave him an ultimatum. That's it. Either we're selling this house or you're getting a stair lift. He got the stair lift. Within days, he emailed us to say, thank you so much. I should have done this sooner.
Yeah.
So we hear a lot about that too, right? I should have done it sooner.
So, Allison, I have to ask, so what was his hesitation? Because it sounds like this gentleman came full circle.
I think as we age, myself included, I have a sore back already, but I don't think I have a sore back.
But why didn't he want it?
Well, that's what I think it is with as we age, right? He didn't think his mobility was failing him.
Oh, despite the falls.
Yes.
Okay.
He didn't believe it. He didn't accept it. I'm fine. We don't need this.
So it was the 3rd fall that did it?
Well, and his wife, I think, saying, that's it. How many times do I need to call the fire department? And you're going to fall on me or you're going to, injure yourself, right?
So why am I asking how old they were?
Early 70s.
So not that old.
No.
I'm early 70s.
But he is... he has some other health issues.
Yep.
She's, healthy, doing well on no medication. I know way too much about our customers. They come to our showroom. We have coffee. They invite us into their homes.
Because you're
right?
Italian.
Well, that too, yeah. But no, our customers invite us into their home. We often sit down for coffee or have dinner, right? So we learn a lot. But she's physically healthy, and he has more health ailments than
Well,
she
if he played
does.
football, certainly I have one of those.
Right.
Yeah, it takes a toll on the body.
He was he played baseball, I believe, and hockey back in the day. So I think he already had some injuries from his younger days. Yeah.
And you get into things like MS or
Yes,
Parkinson's
diabetes.
or
You
where,
know what? Great point. So it's not
there's-
just physical or obvious physical
That's right.
situations.
So if that happens, maybe you want to keep the family as intact as normal. And so a chairlift would make the right sense for that period of time,
Yes.
right? Because you might have still kids at home. Like it may not be that you're so aged. It just may be one member of the family needs a bit more assistance, right?
Great point.
Yeah, we always think of, and that's why we started with the elephant in the room. We don't think of ourselves as needing this,
Right.
where in fact, a lot of us need to think about it, and sooner rather than later. The aging of one part of the dyad versus the other is something that, it's happening, and illness is happening at a much faster rate all around me.
Yes.
And people are either looking for real estate agents because they honestly can't. It's not even so much about mobility at that point. It's they can't maintain the home.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
It's especially since we're in Toronto, GTA region. We deal with snow, and that for me personally was the break point.
That's huge. Yeah.
I had to say to my husband, who was ill at the time, I can't do this on my own.
And even if it's not a mobility issue, it could be lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like you might decide, okay, I no longer need the pool. I no longer need the large lot that I had when I had kids playing in the backyard. So then it becomes more of a lifestyle consideration. Maybe you are well, and maybe you decide you want to move because you want something that you can lock and leave and travel and do. And that's another consideration there, and utilize some of the funds from the house. Maybe you don't have children to pass it on to. So why wouldn't you start going on cruises and living your life.
Well, there was a point, this came up in an earlier show. Statistically, I'm like Allison, I like stats. They're sexy to me. But statistically, we are finding that there was this expectation when the housing prices jumped so much that you were going to wind up with a very large windfall of cash.
Mhm.
But the reality is we're living a lot longer than we originally planned for.
Right.
So my
Home
mother,
equity.
My mother is 92, going great. I don't know what the end date is. My cousin's mother is 102
Wow.
and going strong. So if you had been usual life planner, I put money away for my retirement, you might have thought of 20 years. You're not thinking in terms of 40 and 50 years.
That's right.
And so people are selling their homes. There's not going to be a huge windfall inheritance
Mhm.
because you're going to go through those funds.
Yes.
I want to tack on to that. So I'm 71.
Mhm.
We have a beautiful home. It's very large. I love it. It's also a lot of work. And so I have services for lawn care and for cleaning, but I'm active. I have a very busy lifestyle. I work full time. We have the podcast. I volunteer. We have 4 grants. Like, I'm busy.
Mhm.
So I am actually looking at that, but that is a huge consideration because I will probably need some of that home equity. But there's also longevity in my genes.
Mm-hmm.
So none of us had predicted back in our 20s and 30s.
Oh, heck, I wasn't even going to get to 50.
Right.
Of course.
I know.
But this is an anomaly for this generation. Baby boomers, I believe, are hugely unprepared for this chapter of life. It's not only longer, but as Pat mentioned earlier, the physical, mental health deteriorations are becoming more and more rapid, and yet there's less and less information. So it's very unpredictable. So to be able to have this information in advance is so helpful.
Well, if you
Because when you need it fast.
That's right.
And so you don't have the months, possibly years, to plan for something like that. So it's really worthwhile checking out even in your 50s and
Right.
60s, definitely.
I will say something else about affordability. There are tax credits for stair lifts.
Oh.
March of Dimes will fund a stair lift up to $15,000 if you're a low-income home. So there is a lot of support out there for stair lifts. And I always say we try to educate the community, right? Because the government isn't really advertising stuff like this.
No.
So how would our listeners find that out?
So March of Dimes, if your household income is under $60,000, you can go to March of Dimes website and there's an application. So you can fill out an application, to see if you qualify for funding.
And it's a grant, or it's funding. They don't have to.
Funding,
They don't have
so
to
it's through the
repay.
government and donations,
Okay.
right? And then also tax credits. You can claim the stair lift on your taxes at deduction, right? There's a few places. If you're over 70, you can claim it, and then you can claim it as a medical device. And again, there is no tax on a stair lift because it's a medical device. So
I did not know that.
yeah.
This is fascinating.
Yeah, it's great to have those kind of resources.
It's all the
Yes.
things
To know
that
about
we
it.
need to be aware of.
Right.
Exactly.
Because we are going back to the stats part of it. We, around this table especially, will actually live a generation longer
Really?
than your grandparents did. When
But everybody's looking fabulous though doing it. Like grandmas don't look like what they used to.
That's right.
well, that's
Lifestyle.
why the generation thing is changing. When I was a kid, the average anticipated lifespan was about 67 for men and 70-ish for women. So that's me as a child. By the time I got through to university, we had expanded. Now we were about 70 for men, 72 for women. So fast forward another 40 years, because I'm frickin' old. It's now 80 84 for men and 86 for women. And most doctors will tell you if you're 75, you actually can plan on living into your 90s.
Really?
So because when you talk averages, you're also talking about all the people who die when they're younger for whatever reason. So if you're now in your 70s, you need to plan for another 25 years.
And my mom
I love that.
lived to 101
Amazing.
and sharp to 100.
Fantastic.
So this is, again, we are not our mother's generation.
Stairlifts for everyone.
And you get a stairlift, and you get a stairlift, and you get a stairlift. Thank you, Home Stairlift. So generous.
Right.
So how did you get into this business?
Oh boy, that's an interesting story. I had no stairlift background, and it was a recruiter who found me because the owner of this company was looking for someone who could basically come in with fresh eyes, right, and give a different perspective.
Smart recruiter.
Yeah, so that was 6 years ago. And actually, at the time, I was in Spain, truth be known. So my husband is Spanish, so I was there for some time, sort of trying to live there. And the recruiter...
we need to talk.
So the recruiter called me, and I even said, I'm not even in the country. And... but he was relentless. So I just think some things were meant to be. And anyway, I ended up back in the country, ended up working for Gord, great guy. That's the other thing. This company was built with a huge heart. So caring, compassionate. It's not just about stairlifts. It's we actually care. When I say we go in and have coffee and dinner, because a lot of seniors too are lonely.
Very.
Oh my gosh. So the stories I hear and I'll come have coffee with you.
I'm so glad they found you.
Okay, this leaves a question for you, though. Because when they say they're lonely in their home, is that one of the examples of the decision that was made wrongly?
That would be a consideration, I think, because I often say to people, you want to make the decision to move when it's your decision. You don't want to wait till wait too long that your kids are making that decision of where mom or dad's going to go or mom and dad together are going to go. Yeah. You want to make that decision. If you've been in your home a long time and all your friendships around your neighbors that were friends have moved, then it becomes maybe that's the time to consider moving, because if one of you ages quicker than the other, one passes before the other, you definitely want to have a social environment that, because it's tough enough if you've lived with somebody your lifetime and they pass, there's, you want somebody else to be able to be there to fill that social gap for you. And when seniors are alone in a house, more chance that something could happen and we wouldn't know, right? So it's important.
Especially if in most couples, one is the extrovert and one is the introvert.
That's right.
So if it's the extrovert who passes first and the introvert is left on his or her own, that can be daunting.
That's right. And there are some really wonderful retirement places.
Oh, God, yes.
And they have the things that you would want to do at home. Some of them will have a woodworking shop. Others will have a lovely room for planting and doing things. And so that you're not giving up the hobbies that you did at home, and you have a social outlet as well. So very important.
Oh, I can see that.
We'll talk about those on another segment. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Excuse me, I'm cracking up here. Friends of mine recommended the building that I currently live in. Their parents live there. Their parents are just moving out now.
How old are their parents?
He's going to, I'm going to say mid-80s. Okay. They're moving into a retirement home, but it's because of her health. We often think of it as the man who's going to have trouble. Yes. But in this case, she had suffered a few strokes over the years. She survived. But she had suffered strokes and is a little bit nonverbal. Not fully, but little. Enough that she has been living inside the condo because they sold the big house. They moved into a condo. She's been living inside the condo and refusing to go out. So here we go, somebody who's totally isolated. He, on the other hand, his challenge is hearing. And yes, he has hearing aids, and hearing aids are not perfect. But he's very active and very outgoing. So they had to find something for the parents that would get mom out of the condo so that she still had interaction, but still allow him to have community activities, that sort of thing. And they found someplace. Apparently the golf course is just across the street.
Amazing.
They have coffee groups. They have bocce ball.
Hey,
And she has to come down for lunch and breakfast and dinner every day.
Yes.
So real estate wise, that's an interesting. Both my mom and my mom-in-law,
Yes.
both of them went from their homes
Mhm.
into condos and then from condo to retirement.
Yeah.
And when I look at the journey, trying to convince either one to downsize was excruciating. My mom was actually pretty simple because her husband had passed, so that was a given.
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of my mom-in-law, this extraordinary woman, she absolutely resisted. Real Italian, cantina's there, everything's in her home, can't leave it. It took us about 18 months with
Oh, wow.
multiple conversations, the whole family. But the point being, and the reason I wanted to bring this up, is that transitional period.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can be daunting going from a large home or any home that you're attached to all of a sudden being in a retirement residence.
Mm.
If you can, and if you can plan it, to have something in between, I think sort of softens that.
I find that happens first.
Good.
So they go from 2-story home to bungalow,
Okay.
usually, or a condo.
Yeah.
But that's usually a progression. So either
Mhm.
bungalow or condo, and then to retirement home when it's really necessary, right? So that would be the
Or a
norm.
townhome with
Sometimes
stairs.
townhomes.
Mm.
Sometimes they still have stairs, like if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
A lot
downsizing
of
and they just want to
stairs.
utilize, and they're still in good physical shape. Then townhouse is great because a little bit less maintenance.
Mhm.
Still lock and go. Another aspect that we didn't touch on too these days is safety. And
let's talk
you're
about
living in
that.
your home, and you have to be more cautious now of people, strangers coming to the door. They may not always be legitimate people. They could be.
Often aren't.
Yeah, so that's become another consideration.
Mhm.
I find sometimes where family members will say, no, we want them to move now. They're approaching 80 and it's time because I don't want to worry about my parents
Mhm.
in this big home by themselves.
I can see that. At my gym, one of my people that I worked out with, so she's actually younger than me, had a break-in at their house to steal a car.
That's right.
It was mid-afternoon. She and her children, adult children, were at home. A gang broke in. They took their car. They actually beat up the son.
Oh my gosh.
So the son is a big man. It's not like we're talking about infirm elderly people. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the world that we live in. No, we're not in a war zone, but unfortunately, the potential for theft and break-ins
has
is
increased.
there.
Yeah,
It
it's
has.
increased in the last.
We're actually
couple of
planning a
years.
segment on that in January
Okay.
with talking about home security because it is, to Pat's point, the escalation is terrifying. It's all of us. It's not just, but I think again for aging parents, for the elderly, for people that might be less mobile.
Just a minute.
It's
Like, when did all the old people get to be our age?
we're not old
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But it's all part of it. So we need to take another break. We will be back shortly, and we will talk more about comfort, home, and what we need to really think about. And when we should actually get into when we should think about this.
Welcome back to Next Chapter Chats. We're here with Allison of Home Stairlift, Kimberly of Royal LePage Phinney Real Estate, and Pat and Penelope with Next Chapter Chats. What a great conversation we are having. Should I stay or should I go? And so what happens? Stairlift, move, transition, downsize, so many things to consider. Let's go back to home equity and let's go back to planning financially. Are you seeing, Kimberly, that in the last 5 to 10 years, have you noticed that there's a greater interest in people wanting to sell their homes, to
Mhm.
Pat's point earlier, when the markets were particularly high? So that would be part of their retirement?
So we're actually seeing seniors staying longer, actually.
Oh, that's
so
encouraging.
that's something of a trend that they weren't really expecting when they
No.
were looking at, population, increased population and thinking about housing. I think there was that feeling that there would be these homes coming to market because people would have outgrown the need for a large
3,000
home,
square
right?
feet plus.
But people are staying in their homes a lot longer. And I think if you've lived in a house for a long time, financially, it's likely paid off. It's very little to upkeep financially. So if you can do the resources to do the lawns and to lawn cut and everything else, they just stay longer, right?
Finding the resources can be a big one.
Mhm.
That's right. It's and you definitely would need that if you age in the home. So more people are staying longer
When it's possible.
when it's possible.
Because I use my mom as an example. She lived in her dream home when she retired. They moved I'm from Vancouver. So they had moved to the equivalent of cottage country here. She had this lovely home with like 60 feet of glass looking out at the lake. It was a great place. It wasn't in a town. So although
isolation.
No doctors, no.
that was all part of it. But more of the problem was, how do I get in help to clean?
Mhm.
How do I get in help to shovel the snow?
Right.
How do I get in help to bring in groceries? You couldn't. There was literally, unless she was prepared to try and find somebody who would live on site. And that again was still a problem because this is something in the country. It's not like you have students who need accommodation and they can live with you. No, this was in the country. And by the time we got her to leave, again, it was children trying to make a decision for a parent, which is really not fair.
Mhm.
The house had badly run down. It took a lot to sell it. So, but she made the mistake. Actually, to your point earlier, Kimberly, she moved directly from the house into a retirement community. And she went into the retirement community almost too young.
Was she
Oh, yes.
reluctant?
Oh.
She was.
Okay.
She was starting to have, I don't know whether she'd had some health issues. We had quickly discovered moving to a small community. This is why I would never leave the city.
Yeah.
Moving to a small community, even if that community has its own hospital, as this one did, the hospital was really set up as a triage center.
Right.
It can handle bumps, bruises, broken, your common ailments. It wasn't set up for cancer care, heart care, dementia care. This was not something that the community had any ability to tolerate. And so therefore that care came at another place, which was not convenient to get to.
Mhm.
Certainly not for somebody who had moved 5 hours away from her closest family member.
Wow.
Which is what would happen if you moved up to Huntsville
Right.
or
Mhm.
somewhere outside of Toronto.
Well, and so many of us in Ontario have cottages in Muskoka, in Niagara, in the Kawarthas. So that is another conversation.
That was my mom bought a place in Muskoka,
That's
and
right.
that was one of my biggest
Mm-hmm.
conversations with her. What if something happens, or what if you need
Yes.
medical? Where is the nearest hospital?
Yep.
Are you going to be comfortable there? How are you? Your friends are all here. You know what I mean? So, and those are considerations.
Well, it's something that became really apparent when my father got ill. I think he was actually airlifted or long distance transit.
Oh,
I don't want to
gosh.
exaggerate, but at least 4 or 5 times,
Oh,
Oh my
boy.
gosh, that's terrible.
because he could only get treatment in Vancouver. They lived in a community called Salmon Arm, which was a 5-hour drive.
Yeah.
Even my mother had to be airlifted out of there to Vancouver at one point to have a stent put in for her heart. So when people talk to me about, I'm going to move out of the city,
No.
this is my own personal thing. Don't do it.
It's very individual.
It is.
It is, but just be aware that when you move out, then you go to a much smaller hospital setting, a much tighter
Certainly.
medical community.
Right.
And those are the things that you're going to need. But that's okay.
Health is important.
It is.
So we are living longer. I
Yes.
think that we're living healthier. And certainly to your last comment, Kimberly, that you're seeing in the real estate market, particularly in urban centers, that people are staying longer, living
They
at
are.
much older ages. What age is that? Or is there sort of a range? Is it 75 to 85? Is it 80 to
think
90?
A lot of my more senior clients are around in their 80s.
Okay.
I think mostly. I do get people in their 70s. They're the ones in the 70s usually are still in good health, and they make the decision to sell the house so that they can start to travel more. Some of them in the 60s as well. But yeah, it's usually travel.
Yeah.
I want an easier lifestyle. I don't want to take care of the pool anymore. So those are the decisions that kind of first start their journey on the move.
I can understand that because my mother was still in her late 70s, and she will tell you now it was too early. So
Yeah.
if she had moved into the town and she had moved into a condo just for that 10-year gap,
Yes.
And that's why we're sharing these stories.
that's absolutely right.
So stairlift wise, would you say that, I know that they're for everyone, but would you say that it's more skewed towards seniors? And I struggle with the word senior.
Okay.
So can you define that for us?
In our world, we see the adult daughter of the parents, the family CEO. That's what we call her, because she's ultimately the one who's helping the parents, making the decisions, asking the parents the right questions, right? And I even say she's often our best sales rep, right? Because she's out there doing the homework, the education, convincing because everyone's stubborn, no matter what culture you come from. All of us are stubborn, and but hey, if it's coming from your adult daughter, who's your family CEO, and she's done her homework, that's what we see a lot of, that it comes from family members. And but yes, by the time you end up getting a stairlift, on average, I would say you're about 80.
Okay.
So very
Allison,
quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly, top 2 things to consider for a stairlift and top 2 things to consider for right sizing or moving.
So I would say anytime, or the minute you start noticing your mobility declining,
Okay.
not only think of yourself, but think of your spouse or your caregiver in the home. So not only is it the potential for you to fall, but you could become a hazard for someone you love, right?
Consideration.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah.
For me, I think the biggest one would be making the decision yourself, being able to be part of that
Being in
input.
control of your own
Don't
decision.
leave it to somebody else to have to make that decision for you.
Beautiful.
I think that's so important. And I
Beautiful.
think, too, that helps you to really enjoy where you're going rather than feeling like you're being forced into it.
that is so prevalent and so important. Well, thank you both for showing us that planning for the future isn't about giving up. It's about moving forward literally and figuratively.
Indeed. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. And remember, your home should evolve with you, not against you. Whether it's for recovery or long-term independence, planning ahead is power.
So, if you enjoyed today's conversation, follow Next Chapter Chats. It is nextchaptrs.com. Share us with a friend. Join us on Instagram at Next Chapter Chats, because this next chapter, it's not about slowing down. It's about staying strong.
Hallelujah.